Yeah, a warm welcome to our live session here on YouTube. Today we speak about women in cybersecurity, securing a better future. And we did this session in cooperation with our partner, SAP Women in Tech. Yeah, this is really a very special session today, because when I told people about this topic we will cover, everybody said, wow, women in cybersecurity. And this is part of what we want to explore today. Why is this? Why is it still such a wow topic and not a topic like every topic else? And what is special about women in cybersecurity, besides the fact that only 20% of people working in cybersecurity, in the field of cybersecurity, are women? And we also want to explore how the whole industry would benefit from a better gender proportion. Yeah, and to answer these questions, we have invited a very, very great lineup of speakers. They come from different fields. They come from corporate, they come from the startup ecosystem, and from academia. And they also join us from 3 different countries. We have speakers from the US, we have speakers from Israel, and also from Germany. And before I present to you the lineup, I would just like to seize the moment or the opportunity to inform you, you can ask questions or post comments in the commentary section. So if you have anything you would like to know, please drop your comment or question, and we will cover that at the end of our session. So, and now we will start, and I have the great pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker, first of 3 speakers. This is Elena Kvochko, who is joining us from New York City. And Elena, she is the Chief Trust Officer at SAP in the US. Welcome, Elena.
Thank you, Natascha.
Yeah, Elena, she's Chief Trust Officer, as I told you, and prior to this role, she served as a Senior Vice President and Technology Executive at the Bank of America. And prior to that, she had different roles at Barclays Bank in New York and London. And she worked also in technology and security leadership roles in the World Economic Forum and the World Bank to implement new security systems and standards nationally and internationally. And you have been awarded, you have a lot of rewards. Just to name some of them, you have been named among the top 100 CIOs. You have been named from Fortune's magazine among the most powerful women internationally, and also as a business role model of the year from Women in IT. Very impressive, Elena. Very happy to have you with us. Welcome again.
Thank you so much, Natascha.
Yeah, and from Germany, she's joining us. A very warm welcome to Professor Dr. Delphine Reinhardt, and she's from the Georg-August-Universität in Göttingen. Delphine Reinhardt is a professor, and she has headed the research group Computer Security and Privacy at Georg-August-Universität in Göttingen since 2018. And she is a member at the Institute of Computer Science and the Campus Institute Data Science. In 2019, she was named as one of 10 global rising stars in networking and communications by N2 Women, and she was also awarded the Johann Philipp Reis Prize for outstanding innovative publications and protecting our privacy when using digital media, which we do a lot, if not to say permanently. So warm welcome also to you, Delphine.
Thank you.
And number 3, our third speaker is joining us from Israel. A warm welcome to Yifat Bar-Eli. Yifat Bar-Eli is from the Finsec Innovation Lab in Israel. And Yifat started her career as a product manager at Card, which is a credit card issuer. And before that, she was joining CURAZE, Intelligence Security Operation Center. No, that was the next one. Sorry. I mixed it. That was your previous role as a general manager at Cyberhead. Yeah, this is clear what this leads to. So this is the Intelligence Security Operation Center. And since January 2021, so a little bit more than 1 year, Yifat is the business development manager for the Finsec Innovation Lab in Israel. And Finsec was launched by MasterCard and NLX in Israel to advance innovations in financial technology and cybersecurity for the payments and also for the energy ecosystem globally. So, warm welcome also to Yifat.
Thank you.
So to start, perhaps a very first question would be, because we always talk about a lot of different terms, we say data protection, information security, and the last years we talked a lot about cybersecurity. Perhaps who would like to just explain briefly in 2 sentences what does this mean, cybersecurity in this regard? Perhaps Elena, would you like to start?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Natascha. Well, first of all, thank you for the introduction. I do hope that our conversation today will encourage more and more women, more and more people of minority backgrounds to consider joining that field. We know that cybersecurity is not always an obvious choice when you graduate college, when you start your career and you start to make professional choices. So we do hope to open up that door and just highlight what the opportunities are in the sector. And with regards to cybersecurity, we know that the importance of cybersecurity keeps growing. The threat landscape changes and it becomes more and more sophisticated, and therefore creating resilient enterprises that are managing the business and cybersecurity risks appropriately is a priority for every company these days.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Very well explained. Thank you. And I would like perhaps to start personally for each of you the question, what was the spark to enter this very specific industry or field in your, I would say in your case field, Delphine, for example, what was your spark to get into this topic? Because you started as an electronic engineer, as far as I know, right?
Yes, this is correct. So I did my diploma at that time in electrical engineering, and by chance I got the opportunity to start my PhD, and I had the choice between 3 topics: one in logistics, one more on communication network, and there was a security center which was exactly at the same time just opening, and I was thinking, okay, security, we need always security. It's potentially a good future topic, and that's why I chose this topic. So that's why the topic was also in computer science, and that's why I moved from electrical engineering to computer science, more or less by chance in this case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's already a very good keyword. The future will talk about that because it will get more important every day. Even now, we see a real boom and bust on this topic. But I would also like to ask you, Elena, what was your initial spark to join this or to get into this topic? Because you also started in finance and now you moved to a software company.
Thank you, Natascha. I have always wanted to work for organizations that have a big mission and that have issues and that work on solving issues that no one company can solve alone. I started my career actually in the telecommunications sector and its implementation, working to make the world more open and connected. And I saw a great amount of focus and investment that were dedicated to bringing connectivity, new electronic services to previously offline communities, to not very privileged communities. And I saw that while these efforts brought about new opportunities to millions of people to get connected, to get access, I hadn't necessarily seen a similar focus on making these new services and infrastructure secure across the industry, secure by design. And it was this realization that prompted my stronger focus on cybersecurity.
Very interesting. Thank you. And Yifat, for you, what was your motivation to get into this topic? And we will also speak afterwards, perhaps we'll also cover the special Israeli approach to this topic. But first of all, what motivated you to start here?
Sure. So first of all, thank you, Natascha. I'm happy to be here. Well, my way was a little bit weird, let's say. I started at the fintech or the financial industry, and then we started doing several projects in the domain of security. Just back then, we wouldn't call it that way. Because you're in the financial sector, we try to first start to understand where we save the data, to do stuff like data classification, and to make sure our systems, the core system, have to be available, and to make sure that people can do safe transaction. And from that kind of project, we realized back then it wasn't cyber, but we realized we are doing information security. And so I had the chance to become a consultant, and I've joined the company in the consultant in the cybersecurity domain. And then what we did, it was a lot of project with the financial sector, because at the beginning, when people were not talking cyber, but rather the CIA, the confidentiality and the integrity of data and the availability of systems, we just started to give a lot of services to the financial sector. And that was my way to begin with. And I loved it. I began with projects such as CMDB and stuff, just to begin from the ground up. And I really fell in love with this, and in time it became a profession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is very interesting, and I think you're falling in love. That should be something we should spread around the world, because we definitely need more females in this field for many reasons. But first of all, if you look up numbers, you will find around 20%. It's always hard to tell, because what is cyber, what is not cyber, but you found around 20% of females in this field. And I know from you, Elena, you told me, when you started in financial sector, there were 10% of females colleagues, and you managed to raise it up to 20%, so to double it. And now in your role, you told me you're up to 50%, which is incredible, because everyone says, yeah, I would like to hire more women, but where should I take them from? So how did you manage to do this? It's a miracle, right?
Yeah, thank you, Natascha. Indeed, in one of my roles, I did start in a team that was that had only 10% of the workforce that was female, and within just 2 years, we actually tripled that number. So I do know that it's possible. And what worked personally for me, and what I truly believe in, is taking chances on people. I think this can be very rewarding. So even if a person may not fit every requirement for the job description, or may not seem like that perfect fit just on paper, I believe that if they have a good attitude, if they're willing to learn, if they're coachable, it's worth taking chance on them and giving them opportunity, and they might amaze you. And I think in our field in cybersecurity, that's so broad, and you need such a variety of different skills. That's exactly the opportunity where we can experiment, and that can be a great source for a lot of leaders and managers to find high quality candidates from different backgrounds and profiles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also read in one, I think, articles you wrote for Forbes, there was a number, and that was astonishing, that just in the US, there is a skills shortage of nearly 500,000 people missing in this industry. So you're completely right. It's all about, as you said, upskilling or coaching them into these jobs. And why women might be perfect to fit in these roles, that we'll talk later. But first of all, before that, I would like to ask Delphine, because it all starts with education. And you are in this very, very important spot where people are educated and where future is created. And how is the situation at the university? Can you talk a little bit, or explain a little bit, how are things running? Do you see developments that get more female students interested in this topic?
Yes, so maybe it's not only security, it's more computer science. Also in Germany, it's already the whole topic. We see a progression, even if not fast enough, of computer scientists who are female. So it's improving, and also in my lecture in the year, I am observing more female trusting themselves to participate in lectures. So it's also nice to see when we look at PhD numbers, it's also increasing with professorship. It's always like the mountain, when the higher you come, the fewer female you have. We are currently having in Germany this equality part where you say if both have the same qualification, you should prefer the woman. So it's also improving, but still in computer science in general, without speaking from security, we are still a minority. I don't know, in Germany, I believe if I am counting, I know maybe 4 to 5 professors in cybersecurity. But don't fight with a number. I will say maybe max 10.
Okay, 4 to 5. Wow, this makes it quite exclusive.
Maybe 10 women. I may missing on the on the weight a few of them, but it's still very rare, and it should be more.
Yeah, they're a little bit. Yeah, but still, okay, it's still a very, very low number. What I learned, I recently had a talk to a professor. She's also in STEM. I think she's in innovation and tech, and she told me the female students she has, there's some biases around there. They will ask sometimes, "Oh, did you code it yourself, this code, or was it your father or your female or your male fellow?" So this is, if you want to show what is bias, this is a super bias. So do you also experience stuff like this?
If I may answer, yes. So, but not necessarily on the same level, but somebody already asked me in a hiring committee if I will still continue publishing with my husband.
Okay, I see. So I see the point. Yeah, and the big opportunity we have today, this evening, is to see how, or it's not evening for Elena, but here it's already the evening. How does this work in other countries? So, Yifat, I would like to ask you, for us, when we think about Israel and the tech scene there, it's more female for different reasons, I guess. But how is it in this special field in Israel? Perhaps what can we learn from that?
So basically, Israel is a very unique ecosystem in terms of cybersecurity because we have a lot of people with military services, with a lot of experience from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. And so many people, when they are 18, they are joining the army, and the army has several unique intelligence units in the cybersecurity field. So there's a lot of young people going out from the army with the relevant experience. By the way, like 30% today of the company in the cybersecurity domain are located in Israel. This is a huge number for a country that it's I don't know, we are like 0.001 of the entire population in the world, and yet you see from each $100 invested in cybersecurity, 40 go to Israel. That's an extensive number. It's a huge number. And so in Israel, the situation is a bit different. You see a lot of women finish the army and have the extensive experience they need to work in the cybersecurity domain. And like 35%, 40% women in the high tech in general, then we are approaching 30% of women in the cybersecurity. So that's high. For me, in my previous role as a general manager of EMEA of Cyberhead, I had a goal, like Elena said, to have more than 30% women in the company. And I can tell you, we achieved that and even more. Today, it's even more. It's amazing. And it's only and for the reference, in 2018, we had just 10%. So you see, so it's amazing growth. Each year, it's going bigger and bigger.
Okay, so you are on the journey. Yeah, Elena, you wanted to add something. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. I would just like to add, I think indeed that this is something when you see when a manager and a leader is focused on that, achieving diversity is very, very possible. And my current team, I'm very proud to say that we have achieved a 50-50 gender parity on our team. So this is definitely something that we're very much focused on. And overall, all of the data shows that diverse teams are more productive. They produce better products. They produce better services. So it's in the interest of every manager in every organization to have that a diversity of genders, diversity of perspectives, ethnical background, and experiences, so that you really build that the products that reflect your customer base and reflect the target audience, which is very diverse.
You're absolutely right, Elena. We know these numbers. It's also said for every other field that more diverse teams are more innovative. That's a fact. And still, we are not there. And perhaps it's also a hurdle somehow for young women to join this industry or this subject. Somehow, perhaps there are obstacles. And what could that be? What are they struggling with? Perhaps, Delphine, I would like to ask you, because you are at the beginning of a career at the university. What could be the problem or the challenge, to put it more nicely?
I can only comment. So I am doing a one-to-one mentoring with a student. She has started her studies, and we are talking about potential difficulties and so on. And maybe one factor, I don't want to generalize, but having this self-confidence can also be something, or people, women just also related to self-confidence, don't trust because maybe they have not been coding since their childhood, but are coming to the field later on. And this may be one obstacle they can have to just trust themselves to be able to do that. And also we are still lacking of role model at the university, at least in Germany, to have female professors.
Mm-hmm. This for sure is a good point you mentioned, and perhaps it's also a little bit, confidence has also to do with, do I want to be visible? And I saw in your case, especially Delphine, your speaking engagements and your what you publish, but especially also speaking opportunities you seize, right? Perhaps also this is a point where we have to see these women before we can persuade them that it's a good field to be in it, because the old saying is true: if she can see it, she can be it, right? And it starts with visibility and to go out and promote the job and the role I'm in. So
I can also add to that. Speaking to, I do agree that, those who start their careers can definitely be bold and take chances and apply to different kinds of jobs. But I would also like to appeal to organizations and managers who have the power to influence that. Just 3 years ago, we know that only 54% of companies, according to some surveys, reported having a diverse hiring process in place. After 1 year, that number jumped to 71%. And by the end of this year, it's expected to reach 77%. So I think more companies are moving from supporting movements and organizations and just the aspirations to be more diverse, to really drive that diversity into actually implementing best practices to create a more diverse workplace. But we're still not at 100%. And to those who are considering choosing cybersecurity as a career, I would just add that cybersecurity as a field has changed a lot, and it has a role for everyone. There are many skills that are needed in the field outside of the software development and just pure coding, even if they haven't coded since childhood, as Delphine said. There are many roles, for instance, in vulnerability management, threat hunting, customer engagement, and sales, security training, incident response. And overall, it can be a very rewarding and exciting field with many opportunities. It's also one of the fastest growing fields that we have right now, and it's projected to grow by another 33% by the year 2030.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is very important what you said. I think also it's a question of the surrounding I'm in, and is this attractive Is this does this have enough opportunities for me as a woman, as a young woman especially? But this also applies to young men. They also look for different jobs. It's not like it used to be. So it's all about building this surrounding and building it a good leadership team. But I would also like to ask you how or what are skills perhaps in leadership which are really desperately needed to build this what you told us this surrounding to attract more female and more young talents in general. What skills? Perhaps Elena, you can add. Perhaps what would you say? What are these very much needed skills?
Right. I think we all know that the technical skills can definitely be a plus, but let me just address the softer skills. I would say writing skill is a very much underappreciated skill. But writing is something that you will use to communicate your ideas, to communicate with your managers, peers, customers, and clients. So that's something very important. The second very important skill on a daily basis is time management. So responding quickly, responding efficiently, providing all of the information that you're requested to provide. This is something that can give you a competitive advantage too. And then just, don't be afraid to speak up your opinion. Don't be afraid to try new things, speak up in the meetings. That's definitely something that's appreciated. And I think managers like myself, for instance, we're always looking for innovative and new ideas. We're always looking for ways to do things better and to improve our business practices. So we definitely appreciate the new perspectives that a new leaders and newcomers into the industry can provide.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Also to know that even such skills as writing could be interesting. Who would thought this, right? Yeah. And also we talked about this, Yifat, in a prep talk we did a couple of days ago. Also, you told me that you think that especially women can provide a lot or bring a lot to the table when dealing with cybersecurity. Perhaps you can elaborate a little bit on this.
Sure. So basically, in my previous role, I was before I was the general manager, I was managing the professional services, meaning the red team of hacker and the cyber assessments. And I have to tell you, eventually, even if you will have the best report in the world, and I definitely agree with Elena, but eventually you will present it to the CFO, to the CEO, to the COO, and you have to know and speak business. And this is something that I think women are amazing in it, because eventually you do not say to the CEO, you have a CVE here or there, or this is the kind of vulnerability we found. No, you will say, listen, what we found will impact your reputation, can impact your to cause business loss, unavailability of your website. So there's eventually the cybersecurity as well as the IT has to support the business. So the soft skills are definitely there, and there is a misconception, like Elena said, it's not just coding, it's not just reviewing the code, it's not just doing the reconnaissance, it's not just that. It's understanding, it's solving problem in real time, it's getting the bigger picture, it's connecting the dot in real time, it's the business understanding, it's translating technology into business terms, and it's management skills and people skills. There's so much into it. So I think if we want more women, we just have to deal with the misconception that there is. Like, cybersecurity is so much more than just the technology.
Oh, this is very good. Yeah, very valuable. Thank you, Yifat. And also, Delphine, I see, would agree on that. Also, from your perspective, how could we also in academia benefit from a more inclusive environment?
So we have it on all levels. So it can be on teaching, it can be to have different approaches, because maybe based on gender, culture, and so on, teaching can be apprehended differently. We are, as a university, normally we have procedure to hire people who should be fair. So we are controlled also with respect to equality. But one of the issues is if we don't have the candidates, I can have a fair process to hire people, but if I don't have women applying, I can do nothing to increase the number. So it's already starting at the beginning. And I also agree with the previous comment saying security is not just coding, it's not just hacking. It's also quite interdisciplinary. We are working with legal aspect at our department, also with human factors, so also psychology, things like that. And we need to have people able for us in the diversity to have people that want to learn and also develop themselves. So it's, for me, the best characteristic, independently from gender, culture, and so on. So really to have this novelty, thriving for novelty.
And to have this, you have to have the culture, and this has to start early. That's also one thing. I know, Yifat, that you told me about a program that is for young girls in Israel, perhaps because we can perhaps now ask ourselves how to get there, what tools and measures can help us to get a more inclusive and more female working world in this field. So how is this in Israel? What do you do in this very early stage?
So actually, the program called Girls from Tech, and it's initiative by MasterCard Global, and they did it in, I think, around 50 countries by now, and Israel just got in. It started in the ages of 8 till 12, and young ladies from school just come up and jump on a Zoom like in 5 o'clock in the evening, learning about coding and learning about binary and encryption and identity management and authentication, and you use terms from their own language. We use TikTok and I don't know, whatever application they are using, but we are giving them like real life examples, and you can see them. They're like super enthusiastic about it. They want to learn more. They understand that technology is not something like they should be afraid of. It's not just math. It's not just physics, and the atmosphere is really good. So they discover on themselves that they really like to learn. So we start really, really early. And like I said, even in the army right now, many of the units are accepting more and more women. And this is for us a huge change, because when they finish, they accepted to the industry, and that's amazing for us. So we start very, very early.
Yeah, so we talked about the situation right now, and I would like to explore a little bit what is going to happen in the next couple of years, because we already see now the huge buzz around this topic. Cybersecurity is everywhere, and everybody is asking for this, and we have to have a more diverse, inclusive workforce, and not only by numbers, but also by proportion. So what do you see for developments for the next years, and how could it help to really walk the talk and get more females in this field? Elena, what do you see as the urgent developments
Thank you, Natascha. I would like to add, I think again, I will appeal to managers and leaders. We have to all work together to make cybersecurity more approachable. We know that it's everywhere. We know that it's in the headlines, but still in the minds of young people or those who are entering the workforce, it can be a little intimidating. So what can we do, or what can you do in your organization to make cybersecurity more approachable? Second, I would like to say that even if you feel like you don't have the trainings, or if as a manager you feel the workforce doesn't train the trainings, we, for instance, encourage our employees to take that additional training and certification that would further their skills development in cybersecurity. And this ensures that we have a skilled workforce that is ready to tackle today's threat landscape, because as threat landscape evolves, so does the cybersecurity as a field. And then third of all, I would like to say that making cybersecurity more approachable, building that diverse workforce starts with the acknowledgement that every employee, from a C-suite executive to individual contributors, have an important role to play. After all, 95% of cybersecurity breaches are still caused by a human error, and it's very necessary to embed security in every process, in every strategy, business decision, while maintaining that strong communication link across the organization, educate your employees on what they can do to secure valuable data. And for instance, at my company at SAP, we have developed a board level initiative to develop a security culture, and that culture that welcomes open dialogue, encourages the conversation, prioritizes accountability, uplifts the employees to ask the difficult questions, have the conversations with their managers. We make significant investments in our employees' professional development and trainings. We identify diverse early talent and create an environment where we hope that everyone understands their role in cybersecurity and their role in protecting valuable data and their role in protecting our enterprise as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting what you all do already, and yeah, this goes in the right direction. But I have, at the moment, I would like to read you a comment which just came in from one of our audience members. It's about, because we talk about diversity, but this includes all age groups. How do experienced middle-aged women get involved? This is a very good question, because we focused, for sure, as we have also Delphine, a little bit on the young women, but it's completely right, because as we have to raise these numbers, we have to do reskilling, upskilling. So how to get the middle-aged and also more experienced women in this field? Any ideas?
I think the same would apply, Natascha. Definitely, first of all, submit the application, as we all said. Second of all, a lot of the experiences that you might have had in a different field or elsewhere might be very well applicable to cybersecurity. Like we said, there are so many fields, from vulnerability management to threat intelligence to sales to managing the customers to fraud prevention, that a lot of those skills and leadership skills that you learned elsewhere will be very transferable. So definitely take a look at how can you translate your previous experience into what you're looking for. And I know, actually, again, appealing to the managers, a lot of companies have specific programs focused on returning mothers, veterans coming back into the private sector or the workforce, or depending which sector you might be coming from, there can be a specific and designated program to attract candidates like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Interesting. You also talked about the awareness. This is the first thing. We have to be aware that there is a problem, right? And we see that every day. So we get more and more phishing mails or fraud attempts on our computers. So this is an everyday issue we deal with. And still, we don't want to be bothered with this topic. This is something which we experience. It's like doing your tax declaration. It's like, oh, let's do this tomorrow. And I would like to know, how can we perhaps solve this problem? Because how can we make it perhaps also more fun to deal with these topics? Yifat.
So basically, I think the awareness is actually increasing over time. There's a lot of communication of data breaches, and you see every day you hear about new website that got hacked, and data and PII that was leaked. And so I think the awareness is increasing, but definitely we should. There's a lot of programs, not just like sending phishing, but to do like a specific training with the same ideas people can relate to, meaning to do like a dedicated training session to each, if it's management, if it's customer success, like to each division, if it's finance, like to really adapt the content so it will be best suitable and will really talk to him. I think real live examples are amazing. I can tell you, like from the hacking team, we hacked in so many creative ways you wouldn't believe it. And when we talk about it and you do the presentation, people are amazed. They're saying, this is something I never thought. So to show that, to demonstrate that, to put that on the awareness training should be like really interesting for the team, and I think can really increase the awareness.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Would you like to add something, Delphine? How can we encourage people to deal with this topic?
So I am not sharing the same opinion, saying we need to be more aware, we need to have the user more in charge of doing things for the security. So what you should go for is actually having better systems that are taking into account the human characteristic to be able to have less burden for us, because when you stand up in the morning, you don't say I want to save my computer, or I want to protect my privacy. You just want to have your work done. And this aspect of human factor has started a few years back in academia to have more usable security and privacy, more human factor in research, and this should definitely be done more in the future. And to do that, you need people who are, as said, not necessarily just coding, but also looking at psychology, other aspect, motivation, and so on, to be able to develop better systems which can protect our security and also our privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Would you agree, Yifat, for example? Is it also not not always our task, but is it a question of the right tech environment?
I think it's a balance between the two, because she's right. I mean, the organization cannot blame the employee, but sometimes when you send when it's a huge organization and you send thousands of like spear phishing, one of them will get the goal, one of them will click, and then we will get we will have the computer, and we can start like doing the lateral movement, and we will go from there. So if you increase the awareness, if less employees will click on it, if people will take responsibility, because you know what, it's not saving a database, it's not saving a storage, it's saving my personal information, and that's a huge like when people will get that, it will change the way they are acting in the organization, and they will take more responsibility. And I think that will be a huge help for the CISO and for the organization as a whole. Like to take in a personal responsibility and the understanding of what you can do. I'm not just an employee. I'm someone that through him people can penetrate the organization, and I have the responsibility, and I have stuff to do. And I think it's a combination. It's a balance between the two.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting because we are also in this situation that we perhaps are no longer in the corporation, or in the corporate, or in the company, and we work remotely. So this puts also a sort of responsibility, because there is this connection between our home and the company. So we have this remote work, which increased a lot the last 2 years since pandemic. This was also why this topic is so much discussed at the moment. What would you say? What is the biggest challenge in nowadays? We had the pandemic for sure. We had this remote work or hybrid work models, and we have all more and more cloud solutions. What else would you say would increase the awareness on this topic in the next time? Elena.
Sure. Thank you, Natascha. Obviously, the pandemic and just changing of the work environment you have mentioned, we moved from the world where 20% of the work was done remotely to the world where 80% of the work is done 100% remotely. And that has fundamentally changed the way we do and operate business. Going back to your question, what concerns me within the cybersecurity industry, I would highlight 3 challenges that we're working on or we're working to address as an industry right now. The first would be probably the gap in the workforce. We know that the demand for cybersecurity has only increased in recent years, and in our company, in my company, SAP, we've launched multiple partnerships with colleges, universities, other diverse groups to really address the issue. The second issue that really concerns me is how unprepared a lot of the organizations are for cyber attacks, including attacks like ransomware. So I think prioritizing hygiene, understanding the gaps in your infrastructure, learning what basic steps attackers can take within the organizations can really prepare the organizations against potential threats. And then finally, I think that there are a lot of technologies that we're looking at, the advanced technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning. And of course, they present a lot of opportunities, but they also pose new risks. So without proper understanding, without really understanding what threat actors can do to take advantage of these technologies and how they can really use them against us, I think this poses another threat to a lot of the organizations. And then finally, I think the threat landscape is ever evolving. Organizations need to constantly understand new threat vectors, new attack tactics, keep themselves informed about the newest threats that can target them specifically. And simple steps like access management or setting strong passwords or multi-factor authentication, maintaining backups can really make a big difference when facing a potential threat.
Yeah, very interesting points, Elena. And I would also like to seize the opportunity, as we have three speakers from different fields, academia, startup, and corporates, to ask all of you perhaps one of the last two questions before we close down the session. What can we do to better collaborate? How to create together a better workplace? How can we connect these fields better on this special spot we have in between? Who wants to start? Yifat.
I can go. Thank you, Natascha. So it's a great question, and I have to tell you, when Ellen and MasterCard decided to do the Finsec Innovation Lab here in Israel, one of the things we immediately created was a network of partners and alliances. And why is that? Because a startup at the beginning, at the early stage of like pre-seed, seed, with a few entrepreneurs with great ideas, they need a lot of things. They need the data. They need an access to a better site. They need an access to researchers and academic materials, and they can't have it alone. And once you do a network of partners that are willing to work together, it's the synergy is amazing. It's like 1 + 1 = 3, because they can't do it alone in most of the cases, and together you create things that they even as a company, they couldn't have done that alone. We are participating with Dell and with NVIDIA and with global companies around the world and with the University of Ben Gurion and Tel Aviv universities. And this, like for a startup, it's amazing, and they can do so much more. And these alliances are super important. And I think we should definitely even have like quarterly meeting or tabletops, or I don't know, some kind of a committee, and to see what kind of collaboration we can achieve, what kind of alliances we can do that benefits all, and a win-win situation.
Yeah, you're completely right. It's all about collaboration. It's a big buzzword, but it's also true that every side can benefit from these collaborations. Do you work a lot with academia and startups, Elena, in your special field?
Absolutely, Natascha. I would like to echo what Yifat has just said. I think we can only address those huge gaps together. We can only address them as an ecosystem, and by working together between the private enterprises, the government organizations, nonprofit sectors, and academia. This is the way we have to solve such complex challenges. I would say from our perspective, we have teamed up with many universities already. Just in the last year, we have, for instance, launched partnerships with historically Black colleges and universities, where we'd like to work with them to increase the racial diversity in the industry as well. We've partnered with other colleges and universities universities to attract talent and give them the resource they need to know about cybersecurity, and they need to pursue a career in cybersecurity. In one of the colleges, we even focus, in one of the locations, we even focus on high schoolers. We really provide them the opportunity to join a cybersecurity boot camp, and we provide them with the resources and means to do that. So we very much value diversity and understand that investing in our future workforce will benefit the entire industry.
Yeah, perfect. Delphine, from your perspective, what's in for you as a university and academia to look for collaborations with corporates and also with startups?
Yes, so I can just repeat everything what has already been said. So transfer in industry or startup is really necessary, also to have different view on the same topic. So I will not repeat everything, but I can just agree with previous statements.
So what I've learned is we should do that more often to gather and to connect and to have this opportunity to exchange ideas and projects. So this is very, very valuable, and this will become more and more important in the future to look for these collaborations. Yeah, we are pretty much already at the end, but I would like to ask you a last question, all of you individually, to close the session, but also to go home with an idea how to improve or secure our everyday life. What can we do to be more secure in cybersecurity? So the question would be your hack and pro tip. What can we do immediately to improve our IT security? One measure we do tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Who wants to start? Elena.
Absolutely. Natascha, I would say simple, as I said, simple steps can go a long way and can make a big difference. So starting with cyber hygiene, maintaining the backup, setting up strong passwords, clearing your cookies will as a consumer, will definitely take you a long way.
Okay, so no longer 1, 2, 3, 4 as the login thing pin. Yeah. Okay. Delphine.
I will say update your software, your computer, your version, everything. Just run the update.
Okay. And finally, Yifat, what would be your pro tip for tomorrow?
So I would say don't address it like if I will get hacked, or just ask it, I am going to get hacked, so what am I going to do? And then I would address 3 things to remain the resilience, to see what you have and what you don't have, to see what you're doing every second, like monitoring the environment and see what's going on. And eventually, if you will get hacked, know how to respond, like have a plan, see what to do.
Okay, this is very good. Thanks for this. So if I would get hacked tomorrow, I wouldn't know whom to reach out for. One of you 3 for sure. So good to know people also who might help. Yeah. So thank you a lot. It was a very, very lively and insightful discussion. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, it was really great to have you. And I hope we see and read from you in the next couple of months. So our platform, maleOneZero, is for exchange, is for experts to exchange, especially, not only, but with a strong focus on female experts. So we were very lucky to have you. Thanks a lot, Elena. Thanks a lot, Delphine. And thanks a lot, Yifat. And also from our partner, because Elena is also part of it, from SAP Women in Tech. Thanks all for joining. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.